Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. After almost 2 weeks into the NBA season, we're seeing some teams that we've expected to be good on paper have some really rough starts. We're going to talk about that to get started today. One of which was projected to be a 1 seed in the West by one of us to begin the season. So we wanted to talk about the death of some so-called super teams. So we'll start with the LA Clippers. Gabe, what's been going on with the Clippers so far to start the season?
Hey, real quick. All right. Let me preface this with something important. I think an important distinction before it gets into that whole discussion of, oh, are these even really super teams? I don't know if the expectation was that high in that whole big discussion. To me, I think we are in an era shift right now overall. And call this an overreaction on the beginning of the season. But overall, I think through the past couple seasons, we're seeing an era shift away from name chasing culture. And I think this started around like probably 2007, late 2000s, early 2010s. And it's been a steady thing that's happening to varying degrees of success over time. But now here at this point, I think that it's not working anymore. I think you look at the teams who are on top and you look at the teams who are on bottom, and it's like, okay, the Clippers traded a million picks to get Paul George and then brought in Kawhi. The Nets traded like a million picks to get James Harden and then James Harden for Ben Simmons and that sort of thing. Not having that capital, obviously, the Lakers traded a gigantic haul in order to get Anthony Davis, and they get a ring out of it, but now it's left them without very many assets and trying to retool and rebuild themselves up from some hard times. So looking at these, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but looking at all these kind of failures of these teams lately, I think that culture is going to die out.
It definitely seems that way, at least to the extent where I don't think there's really many situations anywhere where you can just put stars together without good pieces around them and have success. Like if you can add stars via free agency, you don't have to give up a ton of assets to do it, and you can still keep your bench, you can still keep your draft capital. I think that's still valid, but we don't really see teams like carry 1 to 2 uh, max contract slots in cap space anymore. That's not really a thing. It's all via sign and trades for the most part. So if you're doing that name chase and if you're adding those stars, you're usually trading away a significant amount of your depth and a significant amount of draft capital. And it is proving to be hard to build a team that's overly competitive at this point in time. And that's the biggest drawback. If you can do it via free agency, there's still a way to do it. Having multiple stars on a team is not inherently bad. But if you get to a point where you're giving up too much draft capital or you're giving up too much depth, that has its own problem. And as we're seeing in other situations as well, just due to the fact that by the time you get these stars, they are getting older, injury concerns and injury proneness is a problem as well. That's not going to be a problem in every situation, but it is certainly a problem that some teams are running into, most notably the Lakers and currently the Clippers, as Kawhi is now out for another 2 games with knee management. So not
Mm-hmm.
ideal.
Knee management. I saw a stat news post that they're the 29th ranked offense in basketball, which is just crazy because even without Kawhi Leonard, they still have a lot of, at least you would think, offensive firepower. Like PG still playing, they got guys off the bench like Luke Kennard that can light it up. John Wall's been playing solid to start the season, but they've been struggling really bad offensively to start the season, which is kind of surprising. And their 2-4 start is not something that I would have saw coming, even with Kawhi missing. Basically, I don't remember him playing since opening night, honestly. I don't think he has. So it's like, it's kind of unprecedented territory. So, Gabe, I mean, that's your 1 seed prediction. Like what are you seeing from the Clippers right now, and is it fixable in the near future?
I think my 1 seed predictions might have had some flaws. I think this is a part of predictions that I tried to be interesting. I tried to not give the same pick as everybody else. And while it's still only been like 5 or 6 games and it is early on, I'm really not seeing great things from my 1 seeds on either side of the bracket. But I don't know. I think the thing with the Clippers is just like people are in and out that consistently. I think Paul George has already missed some time himself, and so it's like you've seen the Clippers have success without Kawhi. I think you've even seen them win some games without PG. But I think a big thing is like consistency. At least in my experience and watching things, it's like, yes, you can get a better player back, but now how accustomed are people to their roles and sort of fitting together and running in a like decent flow? Who's getting what shots? Who's supposed to be where? Who's running this set when this guy's in versus when this guy's not here, especially when those players are very ball dominant. And so just overall, until they have some sort of consistency of them being there or them not being there, you might continue to see that struggle.
Yeah, that level of consistency in your lineup is definitely an important factor, especially when you mention how ball dominant those two guys are in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, that are the guys that are in and out of the lineup the most. Norman Powell is also one of the more ball dominant guys in the team, and he barely played last year before he got injured. John Wall's obviously a new addition, and he's one of the more ball dominant players. So pretty much everyone other than Reggie Jackson is being integrated in some way, shape, or form outside of obviously Paul George, but even then he didn't play half of last season either. But the one thing that would have given validity to your number 1 seed prediction, which I think was a completely fair 1 seed prediction, is the fact that they were so deep. That you would have thought that they would have dealt with guys being out of the lineup a bit better. I mean, last year they had a better record than they're on pace for. Obviously, it's early, but last year they were record-wise a better team than they're on pace to be this year, with Kawhi out the entirety of the season and Paul George out for half of the season. So there's still obviously a lot of time to turn it around. But this depth that we thought was going to be this really good bench unit, they could go 11, 12 deep if they needed to. They could get really good production. John Wall's look great. But outside of that, from a consistency standpoint, there hasn't been that strong level of depth, at least to this point in time. Maybe as the season progresses and, like you mentioned, Gabe, you got a little bit more continuity in their lineups. People start to understand their roles a bit more, which is an important thing. They can start to perform a little bit better. Even Paul George, to an extent, like he's had some good performances, but he hasn't been consistent himself yet. So hopefully as the roles start to be established a bit more on this team, they can find a little bit more success.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. It'll just take some time. I mean, Kawhi hasn't, he was out for over a year. And like you mentioned, Paul George missed most of last season as well. So it's a lot of different guys that they got to integrate along with like John Wall coming to the situation. But I think Ty Lue's a good enough coach to where, once everybody's, back playing the right amount of minutes and stuff, he'll figure it out. And I think they'll be fine.
I also think they'll be fine. I think out of all the teams struggling, they're the team who it's like, okay, look at the talent on the roster and the roster construction, and you can realistically see they're 2 games below 500. Like, it's not like this team is like 10-20 and you're like, what is happening right now? Like, it's been 2 weeks max. So I'm not necessarily too concerned, especially given the limited play time. I think Kawhi is still on a heavy minutes restriction when he wasn't. I don't think he was playing very much. At least from watching the game, it didn't seem like he was in there. So, but yeah, with them, it's like, look at the Lakers and it's like their roster construction clearly flawed. And then it's like, what are you trading to get better? Same thing with the Nets. It's like, what assets do they really have to flip and get better? With the Clippers, it's more you have everything you need. You're not really relying on assets. It's just everybody playing together and meshing together and sort of internal things I think they can improve on.
Yeah, and with the mention of assets, even if the Clippers, if they felt they wanted to make a move, they have enough depth on that team that they could shuffle around some pieces if they wanted. So they're definitely in the best spot from a believing in them long term throughout the rest of the season and a flexibility standpoint if they do want to shuffle some things towards the trade deadline.
Yeah, they're in much better shape than their LA counterpart in the Lakers because them boys they look terrible. Defensively, they still look good, but that offense is pretty putrid right now.
Yeah,
I don't think it any better.
No, that Lakers team is just bad. It's just simply put. Their defense will keep them in enough games to be semi-competitive, but they're just bad. And as much as they're struggling for shooting as much as they are, I don't know how a guy like Matt Ryan's getting DNPs right now. I know he might not be your greatest basketball player to ever grace the earth, but they need shooting. He needs to be playing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do. Like the fact that they have like a top 2-3 defense in the league right now, but their offense is so putrid that they can't get anything done at all. Like ranking second in defensive rating and being winless is almost unheard of, I think, especially as a podcast that I think endorses having that good defense, that good defensive background, good defensive big men on the roster. Like it's almost an anomaly, I feel like, to see you're literally second best on one aspect and the worst in the other aspect. And I really did not expect that out of this team coming into this season. Like the Lakers, the way they were constructed, and definitely with most of those like name chasing type rosters, you look and think, oh, like that team, they might get some offense. You know, LeBron will drop his 30, AD will pop those middies, Russell Westbrook put up some triple doubles, and they'll put some points up on the board, but they're going to be letting other teams score. And the fact that it's been the complete opposite is honestly a surprise more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't expect this offense to be great, but I expected them to be better than one of the worst offenses in the NBA of the last 2 decades. Now, given they have time to improve that, obviously, I don't think they're going to be this bad for the entirety of the season. Because as much as the 3-point shooting has been bad, there have been some guys that are at least okay 3-point shooters that have just started the year poorly. So I don't think they're going to continue this poorly for the entire season, because I don't think this is one of the worst offenses we've seen in the NBA over the last couple of decades, but they're definitely not showing to be anywhere near as good offensively as some people had hoped. I mean, I thought they were going to be like, maybe they're around like 20th to 15th. It wasn't going to be a good offense, but I definitely thought it was going to look better than it has for the first 5 games.
There's a chance it does continue though, man, because we've seen a lot of guys that have been okay shooters or even good shooters either go to LA or play with LeBron, and then all of a sudden they just don't shoot the ball well anymore. I don't know if it's the pressure of being LeBron's teammate or what, but it's just it's happened a lot, like time and time again. So there's a chance it might continue. Now they might not be like, you know, as bad as the 2012 Charlotte Bobcats that like their offensive rating was so bad, and this Laker team so far is like on par with that. They might not be that terrible, but I don't know if it's going to get much better unless moves are made. And do I trust Rob Pelinka to make the right moves? Not really. Not at all.
Yeah, 23% from 3 on the season, I don't think it can possibly stay that low. Like there is, and as the good grace in my mind believes that that's like impossible to stay that low. So I do think that'll come up a little bit, more than a little bit. I think this team can get to 30. They can
That's
get
still terrible.
It's still terrible.
As
It's
a
still
team, that's bad.
it's still really bad, but come on. You can get to 30 at least. And maybe 30 with the second best defense in the league will get you somewhere as far as winning games is concerned. Now, I will say, you guys thought I was kind of wild for having them as the 11th seed, and apparently I was, because right now they're in the 15th seed. So, whereas my 1 seed predictions were not great, who I was hating on, that was accurately placed.
Everybody hates on the Lakers, though, so that's valid.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Oh man. Well, and they're the last winless team in basketball, which is just crazy. I saw something, they said this is like the first time LeBron has ever had like the worst record at any point in the season, like outright worst record, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It took 20 years to do so.
Let me ask y'all this. So, say we get to around trade deadline or like just it's December and the Lakers are like 13, 14, 15 seed. Do one of the big two request a trade?
Well, I'll preface that by saying LeBron can't be traded, so that ruins that fun hypothetical, unfortunately. Thanks
He just signed an extension.
Thanks to his extension, yeah, he cannot be traded. AD could be. That is a possibility.
Do you think AD requests out?
No.
I don't think he does either. I don't think so. If he was there by himself, sure. But not with LeBron there. Not with LeBron.
Nah.
Hey man, we've seen it. We've seen a star player request a trade away from LeBron's team before.
Well, we see what Kyrie Irving. We see what Kyrie Irving be thinking though. So.
Oh gosh!
Yeah,
suddenly the podcast just got intense. Wait a minute. Yeah, Kyrie, man. We all know Kyrie's in the wrong. All know Kyrie's in
but Gabe, Westbrook's coming off the bench now, so the 6 Man of the Year campaign is it alive?
I told you guys.
Is it alive?
Some of my predictions, such as the 1 seeds, not really going. Now the Sixers are turning it around a little bit, so just hold up on that Embiid talk. It might come back, but that's Giannis's award right now. Let me say that before I get too carried away. That's Giannis's trophy. But hey, man, now that Russ is off the bench, he put out some pretty solid stats off of there. So if they say, oh, he looks way better off the bench than he did in our starting lineup the first couple games, and they keep him there because at least it's working a little bit better. Don't say I didn't tell you so.
He did look okay in the second unit. I will not lie. He looked all right. There's some spacing for him.
Better there.
Some spacing. He could operate, attack the basket. I think he hit a couple jumpers. Like he looked all right.
Yeah. He's the classic example of a guy with a number 1 option play style without number 1 option talent at this point in his career. Obviously, he did have that at points, but 2022 Russell Westbrook, he's not a number 1 option. And so now that he can be the number 1 option off the bench, playing against bench level players and just heading this unit, it's probably what's best for him now. Personally, I think that'll do him a lot better than trying to contend with the best of the best guards at this stage, especially with how bad he started this season, just to get his confidence up and let it be known that he can still contribute to an NBA team.
How much do you think it hurts for Laker fans to see Bogdanovich shooting the lights out, Miles Turner playing great basketball, Buddy Hield playing great basketball, and they're all great jump shooters right now, and they just can't knock down a shot?
It's got to be tough, man. It's got to be tough. I mean, everyone's got a better record than where Bogey is. Indiana are playing well. All the guys are out here having more success than they are shooting the ball well. It's got to be tough.
Listen, here's the thing, though, is that this core, well, at least 2 of them, so the core of the core, they won a ring literally 2 years ago. So honestly, do I feel bad for Lakers fans? No, you got a ring 2 seasons ago.
For Lakers fans.
I mean, I probably wouldn't regardless, but even more so, the reason you're in hell right now is because you traded everything away and you got a ring. It worked. There's just some long-term repercussions because you went all in. And that's just kind of the fallout from going all in on an older roster, on a lot of 1-year deals with players who are now not on the roster, of people who only continue to age and go downhill. Just this was kind of bound to happen. And if I was the Lakers front office, if I go back to that time period, do I take it back? Do I take back all those 2019 offseason moves to get rid of the young core and kind of transform this team? No, because you got a ring. And so it's fine, to be honest. Obviously, you don't want to now be in basketball hell for the next 5 years. You want to try to turn it around as quickly as you can. But also, as long as you have a roster headed by a approaching 40 LeBron, it's kind of the same as the Lakers around 7-8 years ago when Kobe was in his last couple of years. Like, he's still heading your roster, and that's your top guy, but he's sort of getting towards the end, kind of on his way out. So you can't really start to rebuild or turn it around yet and get to a new era. So they might just be stuck here for a while unless LeBron either leaves or they actually figure out a way to somehow salvage this and compete now.
Yeah, they're probably just stuck here. They don't have any significant flexibility. They could get better, but not to any degree that's going to make them anything more than we make the play-in tournament, and that's about it. They could sneak into the playoffs, but that's going to be it. To the mention of the trade of getting Anthony Davis and trading away their young guys, though, as much as they did give up so much there, they could have avoided this situation regardless of that if they just didn't make the Russ trade, because that's what's hurt them so much. If Kuzma's on this team, if KCP's on this team, and they were willing to fork out the money for Caruso, this team is looked at much, much differently than they are right now. Would they have been continuing to repeat as a title contender and won another chip? Yeah, maybe not, but they would be in a much better spot than they are right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. I always come back to that, man. And everybody knew that has any kind of competent brain in the world of basketball. Everybody knew that the Russell Westbrook fit was not there. They were just trying to get too cute, like name chasing, like we mentioned earlier, is what they tried to do. Instead of guys that fit LeBron, fit Anthony Davis, they wanted to chase the name, and they're paying for it still a year later. And, I would probably bet Westbrook's probably not going anywhere because the trade is so difficult to make if they want to get better. It's just not really there. So, yeah, they kind of did this to themselves, just like you said, Devin.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's times where if you have a third star that's truly at a star level, it can work and they can fit together. But more often than not, we've seen when you have a trio, specifically with LeBron, that the third guy ends up, not that they're a traditional role player, but they end up having to take a lot more of a role than they did otherwise when they were on their team by themselves. Chris Bosh had to do it in Miami. Kevin Love had to do it in Cleveland. Like, having that third guy is nice and it gives you that name. But at the end of the day, unless you're significantly dealing with injuries, there's only one basketball. There's only so many plays in a game. There's only so many guys that you can give the ball to make your shot. And if you got LeBron and Kyrie, Kevin Love's probably not that guy. And if you got Wade and LeBron, then Chris Bosh probably isn't that guy. And it's no different in LA. AD and LeBron are your guys, and Russ had to play a role. And Russ is not a guy who plays a role. Russ is Russ. And that just hasn't worked out, obviously. And like you said, Tyrik, that was pretty obvious when the trade happened, and it hasn't improved since.
Man, I think it's the most interesting debate of all time, or at least close to it, is like the whole thing about like LeBron and making teammates better. Because on one hand, it's like he's one of the greatest playmakers ever. Like, of course he makes his teammates better. Like, he's going to find you, get you in the right position. He's going to draw so much attention driving to the basket. That's going to get you some better looks. But then on the other hand, it's like those third stars they get with LeBron, they don't look as good as they did before. Shooters get with LeBron, and all of a sudden they can't shoot anymore. And so it's like there's like clear arguments on both sides of like evidence of, yeah, he obviously makes his teammates better, and evidence of like these players all become worse as soon as they start playing with him. And so I don't even know like where I stand on that whole debate, but I just always find it really interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think it's black and white. I think it can vary player to player, role to role. Like, even for a more like immediate example to this season, I mean, Jalen Brunson looks like a completely different and better player in New York. But when you compare that to Luka and the argument of Luka making the people better around him, sure, he might have created a few opportunities for Brunson and given him a few more scoring opportunities, but he also inhibited Brunson's availability to create his own shot lots of the time, to be able to showcase how good his playmaking is, his ability to run an offense. So he didn't get to show the best of Jalen Brunson. Whereas on the other hand, on the offensive end, if you're looking at a guy like Dwight Powell, who's a pick and roll guy but doesn't have a ton of offensive skill, Luka definitely makes Dwight Powell look better on the offensive end because they have such a good pick and roll game. So it's definitely there's layers to it of who can be benefited from it and who hurts a bit from it from a production and a statistical standpoint, depending on who you're playing with and who that player is, whether it's a Dwight Powell or a Jalen Brunson. And there's lots of examples of that, but it definitely can depend player to player. But there's no doubt that guys like Luka and LeBron can have a significant impact on a lot of players and on how productive they can be.
Definitely. That's why like LeBron's best teammates have been guys like Wade, Kyrie, Anthony Davis, guys that can go get it on their own. But when it is that third guy, you mentioned Chris Bosh earlier, he had to buy into just, becoming a stretch big, a really elite defender too. And Kevin Love just had to really embrace being a three-point shooter. And it worked. They won championships because of it. So, yeah, it just depends. Context is everything. I think if you watch games, you can tell LeBron makes his teammates better, especially like in his prime.
Definitely does. I want to flip to the. There's one team in the East that I'm very concerned about, and that's Brooklyn. This team worries me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They worry me a lot, and part of it's personnel. Obviously, we haven't seen a ton of Joe Harris yet, and we haven't really seen much of Seth Curry either. But the biggest part of it is coaching. Because obviously, when you look at this team, spacing is going to be a concern. That's obvious. You're starting with Nicholas Claxton and Ben Simmons. But at the same time, there's ways offensively for this unit to look better than they have. And it just hasn't happened yet. There's just way too many possessions where they're going down the floor. And it's like, when you have an offense with Ben Simmons and Nicholas Claxton, you just can't operate like this. When you have plays where Ben Simmons is bringing the ball up the court and literally every defender is below the free throw line, like there's just no way to generate any offense. So I'll get your thoughts first, Tyrik, but I am definitely worried about Brooklyn. I think they can turn it around. I just don't think they can turn it around with Steve Nash, personally.
Yeah, Steve Nash has kind of been a problem in Brooklyn, I think, really since he got the job, because he hasn't shown us any capabilities that he's like even a competent head coach. Like, there's nothing Steve Nash has done that has really made me like, ooh, like a play he drew up, a decision he made. Hasn't really done that, and it's been over 2 seasons now. And when you get to their offense, it's like they kind of want to be what the Warriors are. Like, the Warriors get away with having Kevon Looney and Draymond Green on the floor at the same time. People want Ben Simmons to be that Draymond Green type player. But the Warriors offense is just so fluid because guys don't stop moving. Steph Curry doesn't stop moving. Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole. And they're able to work those dribble handoffs really well. This Nets offense isn't like that. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving are isolation scorers, which is why the offense looks very stagnant at times. And that's where, a good head coach will come in and, put in a scheme, put in a system that will help, mitigate the fact that they have 2 non-shooters on the floor most of the time. And Steve Nash is just not that guy. So I think he's the main problem. Like you said, it's a situation that could potentially get fixed, but is it going to happen with Steve Nash there? I don't think so. But are they going to have the guts to make that coaching change now? I don't know, man. This is one of those organizations that have just been very poorly run. And, we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. But Steve Nash is he should be on the hot seat at the very least.
I think the most concerning thing about this team is that if you look at their overall team stats, 2 of the worst things that stick out is bad 3-point shooting and bad rebounding. And if you have both of those issues, you're in trouble, because if you're already a bottom 10 rebounding team, and now instead of having Claxton and Simmons out there together, now you're running the lineup of Simmons at 5, KD, Kyrie, Joe Harris, Seth Curry. now your rebounding's like bottom 5, and maybe that shooting goes up a little bit, but like now the other team's getting second chance points. Now you're not getting any second chance points of your own. Just like the more you tap into one side, the worse it's going to get on the other end. And so it's like either you have to dip all the way into one, and if it were me, I'd probably dip more into the rebounding just because their defense is the more suspect side right now. But then also with Steve Nash, it's like I don't even think this is a roster that necessarily needs the best X's and O's guys in the world, but they just need somebody that the team can really like get behind and can like manage the personalities in the room and just get them to play together as a unit. And unfortunately, he's not that guy, but I don't know where you can really find a guy like that just out of the blue at the same time.
Yeah, I think that would be nice to have somebody that could manage all the egos that they have, but I do also think they need a coach that can put this team, because this is a very oddly constructed team that I think will take a guy that is like really nice with the X's and O's to really, get the most out of this unit. Because maybe Katie had a point, like when he said it's either me or Nash and Sean Marks. Maybe he had a point, man, because the roster construction, everything that Gabe just mentioned is purely roster construction. Team being pathetic rebounding, not having, adequate jump shooters outside of like Seth Curry, Joe Ayers, who haven't really played so far this season. They don't really have, that is straight product of their front office making decisions. And we thought the roster looked better coming into the year, but maybe it's not as good as we thought, man. It's just a lot of problems, man. It seems like a rerun of last year almost, just without the whole James Harden situation. Now it's just Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that to a point. But like you said, like they need someone that can do something with the X's and O's, because this is a unique roster. This is a very unique roster. And specifically when you're running a starting lineup with Simmons and Claxton, that's their primary lineup. Arguably the most unique lineup in basketball. You need someone that can have a unique approach to that and can figure out how that system is going to work. Because I don't think that's impossible. I don't think it's impossible to have success with this group. I don't think this is a situation with like the Lakers where they just don't have shooting. They're just kind of screwed. I don't think Brooklyn are in that situation, but with this system of unique players, and even just to boot pretty much any system that's going to have a player as unique as Ben Simmons, you need to have a unique approach to how you're going to build your offense. And I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully it does for their sake, because there's some fun players on this team. It's another year of Katie and Kyrie, but it definitely doesn't look good to begin this season.
I mean, once Harris and Curry are in, I think you have like 5 solid shooters on the roster, because Patty Mills has been a pretty solid shooter so far this season as well. And so just those 5 guys and Simmons distributing to them, maybe that gets those numbers up a little bit, and that helps some of the offensive kink. I do think this team is just going to have to commit all the way on defense. And more so than anything, when having a coach to deal with that roster construction, I think having a good defensive system is almost the most important, because not only are they just giving up points, but this is one of the worst fouling teams in the league. And so even if you think you're about to get a stop, now you're just sending them to the line. And that's just free points at that point. And you're just setting yourself even further into a hole. And it's like, at that point, you're beating yourself. Once again, with like the bad rebounding, giving up offensive boards, and you're committing a lot of fouls, like you need to give yourself the best chance to win, where as long as you're losing, like if you're losing, at least you can say, okay, the other team outplayed us. But right now, they're playing badly and beating themselves at the same time.
Yeah, the fouls has definitely been a problem, but I mean, Claxton's always been a bit of a foul-heavy player, and Simmons has got to clean up his fouling on the defensive end as well. But hopefully, with time, it's only a 6-game sample size for him. Obviously, he hasn't exactly impressed on either end of the floor yet, but hopefully, as he gets a little bit more back to form, gets a little bit more game time under him, he can get a little bit more closer to what we saw in Philly when he was at his best. But at least from a defensive standpoint, to improve that defensive unit, like you say, that they're going to need a little bit more production from Ben Simmons for certainly.
The Knicks look a lot better than them right now. That's a New York team that we should be talking about.
The Knicks do be looking quite good.
Knicks have been fun to watch. I've enjoyed watching them, man. Jalen
Brunson's
Brunson's
fun to watch.
really good. Julius Randle's buying into the role. Cam Reddish had a few games to start the season. I feel like RJ's been maybe the only inconsistent thing, which kind of sucks. But other than that, everything's been looking fine in New York. Obi Toppin's been playing well.
I say Hartenstein's been a really nice ad as well. He's been arguably their main center at times too, and I'm fully for it. He's been really nice in there. No, they've got a good thing going there with the Knicks. That's it. That's going to be a fun team again. They should definitely make a push for the play-in. It's been nice to see Brunson in his own situation to be able to be the true point guard. He's definitely shown that he can be a good playmaking point guard.
Other team though, the Cavs have been looking nice without Darius Garland too, man. That's Dev's 1 seed. Donovan Mitchell is playing at an elite level. Karis LeVert dropped 40 again against Boston. They've been playing well.
I've been really impressed by LeVert this season. Obviously, he hasn't been that consistent offensively. Obviously, he had the big explosion the other night, but he's looked more engaged defensively than I've pretty much ever seen him, and he's been a very willing passer so far this year as well. He's had some nice playmaking games. He's looked the most comfortable from an overall value standpoint than we've maybe ever seen him. I mean, he's always shown scoring flashes, but he looks a bit more engaged defensively. He's been showing that he's willing to pass a little bit more. He just looks locked in and committed to winning right now. It's just been good to see.
Yeah, I saw that 40, two Cavs players scoring 40. Y'all know exactly what graphic I thought of right away. You know exactly. I'm like, yo, they got it going again, and Darius Garland ain't even one of them. That's scary, man. Also, something I want to highlight talking about the Cavs is while Darius Garland was out for a second, and then just also in a general sense, Donovan Mitchell's playmaking has been up pretty significantly. And I really do like to see that a lot. I don't know if it's just a new situation and becoming a more willing passer or if it's an actual skill-based improvement. But either way, seeing that out of him as a guy who sort of was known for getting a lot of points but not necessarily doing a whole lot else, I'm happy to see him kind of making his game a little bit more rounded out over time. Also, the fact that I know it's still 5-6 games, but if he continues to score at this rate, I mean, he's going to be at the top of the league as far as points goes.
As he should be. I feel like he's been working on his playmaking a lot, over the last couple of years. I think it might just be highlighted a little more since he's in a new situation. Nobody's counting how many times he's passing to Rudy Gobert anymore. So it's might be a little more evident that, he's becoming a competent playmaker, which is definitely good to see. Just overall, I mean, without Darius Garland, they're playing so well, man. It's fun to see. I like how you mentioned Karis LeVert's looking like he's just enjoying playing winning basketball again, because when he got traded last year, he got hurt pretty much right away. And then even when he got back on the court, it was hard for him to get his rhythm. And it seems like a lot like when he was, playing in Brooklyn. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it might have been the bubble year, but it was Kyrie was basically out for the season. And it was his team, and he was playing really well. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from him right now.
Definitely been a good start to the year from him. Yeah, that Cleveland team is going to be dangerous for sure. I mean, they've just top 5 defense. They're doing their thing on that end, and like you guys say, without Darius Garland, they're definitely going to be atop the East come the end of the season.
Yeah, your 1 seed prediction is going a lot better than mine. Let's say that.
Yeah, they're only a couple of games back. You still got plenty of time.
Listen, Philly, they're so frustrating because now they're starting to turn it around, and they just had to turn it around at the worst time because, of course, Tyrese Maxey. Y'all want to talk about LeBronto? Nah, bro. Tyrese Maxey is damn near torching us worse. Going back to the playoffs, this dude was just looking I don't even know, prime freaking who's the best slasher you can think of? He was looking like that.
D-Wade.
Yeah, I was gonna say prime T-Wade, but I don't know if the game's the exact same. But like, just
6'2" D-Wade.
I don't
crazy,
get
man.
what it is with this one player in this one matchup, but this dude has crazy real estate in Canada. Like, I can't speak. Devin can speak on this better than me because obviously he lives there. But this dude has to be the most hated player in Canada. There's no way he's not. Like
Most
44.
hated?
Are you serious?
Maxi's too likable to have that title yet, but if he keeps
Right.
doing it a few more times, specifically in the playoffs, then yeah, he's definitely going to climb up on that list. Like I love Tyrese Maxey, but man, he is definitely making it a little bit harder for me to like him as much as I want to. He is balling out against the Raptors way too much, but fair credit to him, man. Philly has looked way better when he has been more involved this year. He's been a key part to when they've had success. So full kudos to him. He's looked great to start the year.
Yeah, they need him to make that jump that everybody wants him to make this season. You know, that all-star type jump. They need him to be that for them to reach the heights that they want to be at, you know, at the end of the year, obviously. But yeah, he was hitting some crazy shots that game too. Like his catch and shoot looks a lot better. His jumper looks a lot quicker. He's getting to the basket at will. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Raptors that he just likes torturing y'all, man, because he's kind of been okay all year, and then all of a sudden 44 points out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hey man,
that's
listen.
crazy.
That was my most improved player pick. If every game was against the Raptors, he'd be my MVP pick, man. I swear. But yeah, on like 20, he's averaging a little under 23 right now. So if he can just keep up some of that good stuff, he might be in that running. Because I know usually it's like the player that goes from kind of role player to then like becoming like a star player. But if it's anything like last year's precedent, a player that was already pretty highly touted, then becoming like certified, that's possible.
Man,
Definitely
give me Dennis Smith Jr. for most improved.
Yeah.
J.
Give me
Cole's
Dennis
fan.
Smith,
This is J. Cole's biggest fan talking about Dennis Smith Jr., bro. That's such a biased pick, bro.
Nah, for real though. Shout out to Dennis because he was basically out of the league, and now he's playing pretty high level basketball, and the Hornets are surprisingly okay.
Near triple double against the defending champs.
He's been playing really good, and he had a big defensive possession against Curry to send it to OT. He's been playing well, man. That's a nice feel good story, you know, early on in the season, man. I love to see it because that's somebody I never wanted to give up on, man. I loved Dennis Smith Jr. when he was coming out of college, but he had a tough start to his career. But I mean, shout out to him for sticking with it.
Yeah. He's been nice to see have some success. He's definitely taken advantage of LaMelo Ball missing some games early on this year.
That's a team that could definitely use some more players too. I think as far as depth goes, like if he shows that once LaMelo is back, he can be like a solid bench contributor for them, be kind of a backup point guard role. Like he could be nice because I mean, as of now, like the starting guard, I mean, it's like him and Kelly Oubre, and so once you have like LaMelo and Terry back, then your main backup guard, like Kelly Oubre is not a backup lead guard. So having Dennis Smith as a guy in that position could be incredibly helpful for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think you want Book Knight in that role, at least not at this point in time in his career either. And I mean, Hornets were wanting a backup point guard last year. They had Isaiah Thomas running for a little bit, so it's definitely a void that they needed filled. And hey, kudos to him. He's looked great to start the year. Like you say, he's definitely one of the good feel good stories to begin the season.
Hometown guy too. I think that gives him a little bit of a boost.
Definitely.
From Fayetteville, went to NC State, back home.
Yes, yeah. He kind of got dealt a bad hand. Obviously, going to a team who then drafted like one of the most hyped players ever a year later. Like you were supposed to come in as a him, and then he arrived.
Yeah, and his rookie year was like he had a cool rookie year. Like his counting numbers look good. Percentages were terrible, but he was a rookie guard, man. His counting numbers were fine. And then Luka comes in, the fit's not there, so they went ahead and shipped him out of town. So Yeah, and he's been to a few different teams since then. Like he played for the Knicks. I remember him in Detroit for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I know he was on Portland. I think
Portland, he
last
got a
season.
camp invite last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember him playing some like actual like solid minutes anywhere since New York. I remember him being in New York. I would not have been able to tell you that he was in Portland.
And he wasn't even. He was kind of bad in New York. He was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. He played 20 games with the Pistons, and he played 37 games last year with Portland.
Was he? Portland was playing anybody last year though. There was a bunch of players I'd never even heard of.
Yeah, the back end of last year definitely had some guys that were playing a lot of minutes that were not regulars. I mean, Brandon Williams was averaging 15, 16 points a game last year, and he got cut in camp. So
they turned that around quick, though. They turned that around quick because Portland.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Blazers, man. Shout out to the Blazers. They are hooping.
Hey, listen,
they are beating the terrible defensive big allegations.
Now listen. Now,
it's early, but they're playing well.
You can't even look at this roster and say, "Oh, half the teams they beat are really bad." I don't care. I don't care that half their wins are against like the Kings, Lakers, and Rockets. I don't care. Suns is a good win.
They beat the Suns and the Nuggets.
Yep. They beat the brakes off the Nuggets, man. That's a good win.
And if the Kings are supposed to be a play-in team, then that's a game you got to win. So
this same Blazers team last season, when early on, if they were healthy, they would have lost a lot of these games. I think the year before too, they probably would have lost a lot of these games. So, that's part of being a playoff type team. You got to beat teams that you're supposed to beat, and they're doing that so far. And then they won a couple games against teams that we consider to be better than them, like in the full scale of things. So they're doing their thing, man. It sucks that Dame, is a little banged up right now, but it is what it is, and they're still playing well without him. So that's a good sign.
I just don't need them to let me down, man. I will say I think it's kind of good for them. They play Phoenix twice in the next week. So once they get those games out of the way, now their strength of schedule is only going to get easier from there. So playing against the premier early on, now you get that out of the way and you can just string up some wins against a little bit of some easier competition. Because I feel like we were kind of hating on the Suns a little bit early on, saying like, oh, so. And we definitely expected them to be low, but sitting at a 2 seed right now, I mean, they're definitely doing better than any of the three of us thought.
I think that's how it should be for them. They should be under the radar instead of how they were last season, where they had pretty much a target on their back, winning 64 games and stuff. So it's where they should be. I still haven't been that impressed when I watched them. Like, Books look really good. Mikhail's look good at times. Chris Paul does not look good. And like Devin mentioned, I think last episode, their bench is pretty bad. Even though Jock Landale's had some nice games and Damian Lee had a couple of nice moments, and Campaign has, I just don't trust their bench at all.
No, me neither. Like you say, they've definitely been solid, and they're probably going to be solid, but I'm not bought in on them being a number 1 or a number 2 seed again this season. Like you say, Devin Booker's been great. But outside of that, this team does not look like a team that's built to be amongst the top couple of teams in the West. And I don't think Devin Booker by himself is going to be good enough to get you that this season.
Yeah, this team is unequivocally, their best win is the Warriors game. That win, that looks really good. That looks really good on them. Even though the Warriors haven't been super dominant out the gate, still, you beat the defending champs. You beat a really talented team that's expected to do some big things this year. Other than that, I mean, they've been playing mostly teams that have some sort of expectations too. Only losses to the Trailblazers, who are obviously playing outstanding right now, but then taking care of business against Dallas, taking care of business against LA, taking care of business against the Pelicans. I mean, that's really all you can ask for them. And if they keep this up, saying how their bench isn't great and kind of all these other kind of detriments that should make them a little bit worse. If they keep up this level of play, Devin Booker is going to be right there in some MVP talks. I'll tell you that.
Maybe he's been amazing though. He's been playing really, really good. Bradley Beal's currently 0 for 11 right now, by the way, against the Celtics.
We were all low on him. At least I feel like we were all low on him. I know I was. I think you guys were too.
Yeah, he's definitely not had the start to the season that Wizards fans would have liked. Kuzma's had a good start, but
He's been
outside
good.
of that, things have not really gone to plan in Washington. You have your lottery pick who hasn't been playing or hasn't played well, and you have your star who you just signed to the second largest contract in NBA history who hasn't looked that great.
That just
Yeah.
Although they are 3-2 and about to be 3-3, unless the colossal collapse happens here, it doesn't look great.
Okay, they're
that
3-3, and 2 of their wins are against the Pacers and Pistons, and the other one is a 2-point win against the Bulls. And that was either like Zach's first game or he wasn't playing. Yeah, Zach wasn't playing. So none of their wins are like actually like impressive at all. I can't like 3-3. They're gonna be 3-3 and probably gonna be like 6-12 pretty soon. Like they got a double-digit loss against the Pacers that just happened. They're getting like the Celtics are literally bullying them right now. It's when they play actual competition, they're
This is a
not.
bad team. Bad organization overall, man.
Yeah.
But not the worst in basketball according to ESPN.
Yeah, well, apparently Orlando's a terribly run organization. So
yeah, Orlando's the worst according to them.
apparently.
That was such a bad. I didn't really like that list. Like probably like 30, except for like 1/3 of it. Like the top 10 was okay, except for OKC being there. I didn't like that.
All I know is that Toronto was at the top, which I liked, and Orlando was at the bottom, which was bad. So that's about as far as my takes go.
Orlando, man, they should be losing. So I mean, they're doing the right thing, man.
They are
But they're
competitively losing.
Yeah, their losing is not as bad as OKC's tanking. OKC has the
although respect to
best
OKC,
franchise. It's crazy.
respect to OKC, they just completed the second of one of the biggest comebacks in NBA history last night. So
Yeah, they did.
kudos to them.
Shay's been looking.
What is it with Shea and comebacks, man? Wasn't he a part of that Clippers
Shea
team
had
that
a
came
big
back down like
comeback.
30 in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And Isaiah Joe came in and was absolutely magnificent. So
Sixers legend.
76ers front office making another questionable decision once again. But
Sixers legend.
kudos to them. They are now ahead of the Mavericks in the standings. So kudos to them.
OKC always does this, man. They trick us early on in the season, like, hey, we can be competitive. We just don't want to be.
Yeah.
Last year,
true.
bro, when they were beating the Lakers like a million times, and I swear they played the Lakers like 8 times last year, and they won every single time. When they were doing that, it was like, this team could be decent. Shea sitting for the rest of the season. I like it though. I like it. They're 3-3, man. They're not folding yet.
Yet.
Yeah, I like how this team plays though. Like as much as some of these guys might not be around long term, and obviously we are probably going to get to a point where they might shut some guys down. Hopefully that's not the case, but inevitably that probably is going to happen. Like this team plays like they want to win. At least right now they do. Like that's what they're one of the best defenses in the league right now, and it's not because they're aligned with some of the best defensive personnel. But like a big part of what happened in that comeback win last night was this team just competes and works and fights and hustles, and that's what you want to see in a good young team. It's good even though they are losing. That's the type of mentality and culture they do have going on right now. So inevitably, the losses probably are going to come, but at least that it's good to see that there's signs of this team wanting to compete and showing that they want to win games while they're getting the opportunity at the beginning of the season.
Thanks. Shows that they got some type of culture, building there. And they do have like some really good young pieces that I like. Like I love Trey Mann so much. Like I love his game. Such a nice young shot creator. Like I wanted to watch more of him last season, but I don't remember him playing much like the second half of the season, so I couldn't tune in. And yeah, it's like Shay's so good that you just want to see him in that winning situation. So I hope they just try and keep it up, still be competitive at least, just play like with that grit that you were just mentioning, because, the more we get to watch Shea and just, these young guys grow together, it's like just better. And I don't want to see them shut guys down. and then start playing dudes that we've never heard of, which is probably going to happen though. But whatever.
I mean, this roster's got some winning players on it. Like, obviously, Shea made the playoffs his first couple of years, and then this whole tanking thing happened. Lou Dort notoriously had a 30-point game in a game 7. Like, so there's a couple guys on this roster that they can turn it up and they can win some games, and they know how to win games. It's just, will they be allowed to keep doing it? And,
they're trying to get Victor.
I mean, that's the thing is hopefully they get a Victor or a Scooch or a Thompson brother, whoever they get next year. They get a nice piece early in the first round. Chet's back. You add those two pieces, probably, I don't know how many first they have next year, but there's probably a couple other guys coming in. The addition of all that talent should finally be enough to A, be good enough, and B, have the front office be convinced that they're good enough to finally make the push. Because this year's year 3. 3 years to be at the bottom of the league is not outrageous. But year 4, you'd like to start seeing them push towards something. So next year definitely should be that year. And they should have the quality. I'll give them credit for that. They have added good pieces. They should have that. It's just whether they're willing to fully commit to that direction. Part of that should involve some trades with their millions of future first-round picks they still have that they're not going to be able to use in full. So there definitely needs to be some signs of that direction next year, but I can't blame them for wanting to chase Victor this year.
Yeah, it's a generational talent, man. So I guess that's fine. One thing that just burns me up, though, is I wish Chet was playing because we see this rookie class, the top guys are playing so well. And I saw a graphic yesterday, like just highlighting how well all the rookies are playing. And I'm just like, damn, I wish Chet was playing because he would be so fun to watch with this team.
Definitely. A true big that could finish well for them would help so much on their offense. It'd be really good to see.
If this team comes in next year and their starting lineup is like Shea, Lou Dort, like Baisley, and then like Chet and another top prospect, plus like then you got like Trey Mann, Poku off the bench, a couple other players out there. Like, this team could be really good next year. And if you bring in 2 top 3 level picks in the same offseason next season, I'm talking about Chet, and if they were to get a top pick, like that's scary to anybody. I don't care how young they are, because Shea will be like year 5, I think somewhere around year 5. So it's like,
yeah,
at that point, the guy leading the roster really isn't that young anymore. A lot of guys are competing and doing big things by year 5. So same thing with Lou Dort. If he's kind of, I don't know if he definitely would be the second most talented player on the team, but as far as contributing in production and just tenure with the team, like now their 2 most tenured players are 2 guys that are going to be ready to win and have been around for a while.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case, man. Let's hope. I was just about to say something that slipped my mind. Oh yeah, Gabe, you got Ben Mathurin still been playing elite, man. Been playing
really
elite.
good.
He might be 6th man of the year and rookie of the year at this point.
Yeah, he'd be the favorite right now, and at least an argument with Paolo for rookie of the year. But he's been very good to start the year.
Look, I saw some of that play at Arizona, and that was all I needed to see. He just, I don't know. There's something about that it factor where you just see a guy, and obviously I wasn't watching Arizona games religiously, so I didn't see like the fine details of his game, but I just I saw enough to where I was like, bro, there's no way this dude comes into the league and he's not nice. Did I expect him to be this nice? 42% 3-point shooter on 20 points per game? Absolutely not. Well, but actually, that was his last 5 games. Overall, he's 43% on 21 points per game. That's even more impressive. But that's crazy, man. They need to give him rookie of the year. Paolo is a very, very good player. I think Ben Mathurin's going to have a way stronger narrative especially the fact that the Pacers are winning a couple games. Like, they're going to be a better team than the Magic, it looks like, early on, which I don't think any of us expected. I think we all solidly had the Pacers at the 15 seed.
Magic
And
Slam.
Ben Mathurin is looking – he's looking like easily their second best player right now. As far as being a dynamic player, like takeover ability, just efficiency, really anything, he looks great. So the narrative is there, and the stats are there. He's going to have big moments. Clearly, you can tell he's just an exciting player to watch. There's going to be a heavy argument, and at the very least, if he maintains 65% of this level of play, just 65% of it, all rookie first team, I think easily.
For sure. I think I say this. I was going to say I think he's pretty much a lock alongside Paolo and Keegan Murray. But again, similar to last year's class, there's a lot of good rookies again already this year that have looked very productive to start the season. It's far from it's Paolo and it's Mathurin and it's Keegan Murray. Like we've talked about Ivy, we've talked about Jalen Duren, but there's other guys across the class that have looked very good. When you talk about Newhart, who's played some minutes, Christian Braun, who's looked very good as a good role player in Denver. Like there's a lot of guys that have just looked like they've been productive, and they're not all necessarily star level guys, but there's just been a lot of productive rookies again already. Only a couple of weeks in from this year's draft class, so guys just have a nice aura of confidence coming into the league that we haven't really been seeing in years past, and they're producing right away. And I mean, obviously, Mathurin and Keegan Murray and Paolo are the most obvious examples of that, but I mean, you're seeing guys that would come in the past that are 8th, 9th guys on the rotation and come in and would struggle and take some time to adapt, and they're just coming in. Jalen Duren's coming in backup center, playing great minutes right away. And Christian Braun's coming in as a backup guy in the wing for the Nuggets, and he's playing very good defense and competing well and giving you some three-point shooting. Like, there's some very solid producers from this draft class. Again, it looks like a class that's going to have a lot of quality NBA players once again.
Yeah, I think that just comes with like when kids are coming up in the game of basketball, they're just more skilled. Like there's just more opportunities now to like learn these skills, and kids are doing NBA level moves in high school effectively. Like it's just how it is, man. Like it's a different game now. Like you said, like, you know, 5-10 years ago, guys were not coming into the league and having this type of impact right away. But now we're seeing it from guys sometimes that aren't even lottery picks. Like you mentioned, Christian Braun's looked really good as a 20-something overall pick, being very effective for the Nuggets. So I think it's just, guys come like learning these high level skills at young ages, and it just translates once they get to the NBA.
Yeah, I think that AAU culture is pretty big too. Just like these guys, wow, they might have been born and just like go to some random high school. Now high school season isn't the only thing for them. Now you get to that AAU season, and the best guys are going to match up against the best guys just at random tournaments on a random day. And so all of a sudden they have more experience playing against that top talent at their level. And I mean, as that continues to happen, as you go up and up and you keep matching up with the best people at your level, eventually once you get to the NBA, you're probably going to be a little bit more prepared to be there.
Definitely. On a note of this draft class, Steve Clifford, please play Mark Williams. Please. Just play him. Please.
I'm tired.
10 minutes a game at least. Please.
I'm tired of seeing Mason Plumlee, bro.
Just give him some minutes. Nick Richards has looked good. I'm glad you're giving him some run. He's looked good this year. But please, he was the 15th overall pick. You need a center. Just give him some minutes, please. And I was going to call out Utah, but they've been playing Agbaji the last couple of games as well. So
okay,
I can't give them too much slack. Although they didn't play Walker Kessler the other night, but that was just a one-game occurrence. So I'll let them have that for now. But please, if you're not great and you have Mason Plumlee at center, give your first-round pick some minutes, please.
They were lucky to trap him.
Dude, is Utah a playoff team, man?
No.
Hey, man.
Play in, maybe. Play off, no.
Listen. If this roster stayed together for 82 games, is Utah a playoff team?
I agree with Devin. They could be a playing team, man.
Yeah.
Will Hardy, he's already a better coach than Steve Nash, man.
Facts. Big facts. I actually really like the way this team is playing. This team's offense is really smooth. It works well together. It has good flow, good player and ball movement. I really like the way he's using Jared Vanderbilt at the center position to have some good rebounding, but keep good spacing and running a lot of offense through him to have a lot of action and back screens and cuts. And he's really got this offense going really well. And their defense has like actually been pretty good as well, which with the personnel is not what you would have expected. So yeah, full credit to him. He's done a great job with his team to start the year.
And Laurie's playing the best basketball of his NBA career, which is a sight to see.
Yeah, Laurie is playing great. He's playing great basketball. He's playing great. Kelly's playing good basketball. Mike Conley's shot isn't always falling, but his playmaking is looking really good. Back as the sole guard in the backcourt.
That'd be funny if they made all those
started
trades.
last game too.
That'd be funny if they made all those trades and they're still like a playing team.
That would be really funny. That would be really funny.
Utah won the trades, man. You heard it here first.
I think they did.
I mean, the Cavs are 4-1 without Garland right now, and the Timberwolves haven't been too bad either. So
I think everybody won. I think everybody got what they needed.
I think everybody's doing pretty good right now. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody lost, man, because it's one of the like, you know how like the Lakers traded away their young core for AD, and then like all those players ended up becoming better like after the fact. Like I feel like all these players who got traded to the Jazz, they kind of most of them really look like they've gotten better after the trade, but then also the big name players that were on the other end, they fit into a role, they're winning, and now they're able to continue to do what they want. So it's one of those rare star player trades where everybody really came out of it looking better. Nobody really got shafted.
Yeah, definitely. It's looked good for all ends. Definitely. Speaking of players in new situations, Nickeil Alexander-Walker had a good game the other night. Hopefully he continues to play well. Hopefully he can finally have his breakout season. I gotta hope, man. I gotta hope.
We probably bring him up like every episode.
I know. It's not me. It's not this guy.
Hey, deep down, I'm still a big fan of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he's a Canadian, so I gotta support him. So
you'll buy into the hype soon enough, Gabe.
I drafted him in fantasy, expecting a big jump like 2 years ago.
It's probably last year.
Probably, yeah.
Probably, man.
No, also, while I'm thinking of it, as I was calling out Steve Clifford for not playing Mark Williams, Houston, please play Josh Christopher, please. He has played over 10 minutes twice this year.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't get it either. Second-year guy, former first-round pick, played well last year, and now he's not in the rotation apparently. So
he looked crazy in summer league. I know it's summer league, but he looked crazy.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, he needs some minutes too. Definitely needs some minutes too. Usman Garuba's been getting a bit of playing time, so that's been good. But they might have to move off a few vets to get some young guys some playing time. Not that you want to ship away all the vets, but someone like first round picks from a year ago, as in Usman Garuba and Josh Christopher, are probably not getting the playing time that they need to be getting, and that's really has to be the priority for them. I mean, those guys can't be playing around or under 10 minutes a game if they want those guys to develop.
Yeah, the Lakers would kill for Eric Gordon right now.
Yeah.
How we get back to the Lakers again, bro?
Well, I was gonna say the Suns, but Lakers sounded better.
How are we gonna get back to the Lakers again, man?
How does
this keep happening?
Nah, Eric Gordon he doesn't need to be on a team that's trying to do something though.
I'm about to say you're about to trade Eric Gordon as a veteran.
They need shooters.
Get him off the 14 seed.
They need shooters.
Say, hey, you're a veteran. You probably don't want to be in the middle of a rebuilding, losing team. So he's gonna get traded from the 14th seed To the 15th seed.
Play with LeBron. Eric Gordon's gonna be the savior.
So now you want Eric Gordon to forget how to shoot?
Maybe he might break the mold, man. He might be the one that learns how to shoot better with LeBron.
Tyrik has been 20 years. Nobody's breaking the mold. 20 years of literally this.
Well, how about Eric Gordon comes to the Celtics then? How about that? He's a Celtic.
Hey man, Eric Gordon. I don't know if he'd help out that defensive rating at all, man. What's going on with the Celtics defense, bro?
Holding Bradley Beal in check.
What we're seeing is that Robert Williams is Defensive Player of the Year when healthy. That's what we're seeing.
Very, very needed.
I told you,
as much as the Boston's defensive pieces are still good, Boston have to defend much differently as a unit when Robert Williams is not on the floor.
Yeah, I'm not too worried, honestly. The Bulls game was very weird because they came out the gates playing well on both sides of the floor, and then they just forgot how to guard the pick and roll out of nowhere, and the Bulls were getting whatever they wanted, which was just a weird game. And then Donovan Mitchell just couldn't miss a shot. The Celtics just decided not to guard him. Karis LeVert got going too. I'm not too worried. The only thing that concerns me right now is like the rebounding hasn't been great. That's kind of concerning, but Robert Williams will be back eventually, so I think that'll get solved. So right now I'm not really too worried. I've been rather impressed with how the team's been playing, especially offensively. They've been playing really, really good basketball, which is it's definitely a good sight to see. And I think the defense will catch up because we know they're not the 29th worst defense in basketball. We know they're a lot better than that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not very concerned either. Like you say, there's been a few mishaps, but ultimately, rebounding's down because you're missing your big, and Al Horford as your center. I mean, he's a fine rebounder, but he's never been some amazing rebounder. So you're going to see a bit of a dip there. But individually, guys have still played some very good defense. I'd argue Tatum has looked even better defensively at times than he did last year, which is saying a lot because he was really good last year. I'm not concerned at all. Like you say, offenses look great. You're missing your most valuable defensive piece, and the defense does not. It looks worse statistically than they actually are. They've played very well at many moments throughout the season, and yeah, they're going to be fine. There's a reason that they're still playing fairly good basketball and are still above 500.
Yes,
definitely. Yeah, Tatum's looked really good defensively too. He's been taking the challenge a lot more this season, guarding other teams' best players, which I love to see.
Definitely.
Back to old school basketball, man. Back to the 90s, bro. The best player guards the best player every night. That's when basketball's at its best.
Taking pride, man. Pride on the defensive side of the floor.
Definitely. It's nice to see.
Johnny Davis has checked into the game in garbage time, of course.
Man, bro, I was so high on him too.
I love Johnny Davis.
I was really,
but yeah, he went to basketball hill.
When talking about Big Ten ball last year, I was like, dude, Johnny Davis is him. That dude is disgusting. He just don't get minutes, man. I don't understand. I think he can be solid. I'm not saying he can be like a star player or anything, but
I'll be honest. He can be. Based on how he looked in preseason, I can't even tell them to give him minutes. I can't. Ideally he would be, but man, I know it's only preseason basketball and it is a rookie and he's going to need time to adjust. But he looked absolutely lost and just not physically there. Athleticism didn't look there. He just did not look ready for the NBA level. Hopefully he develops and that changes because I don't want to count out a lottery pick within the first couple of weeks of his rookie season. Obviously he still has time to develop, but initial showings, although limited, definitely have not looked any bit encouraging, especially when Washington wanted to take a guy that could come in and produce for them pretty quickly, and they don't even feel confident enough to give him minutes for a guy they wanted to come in and be able to produce right away. So they obviously don't feel very high on him. He hasn't looked that great to start. Hopefully that turns around, but that definitely looks like one of the more disappointing picks early on. But like I say, I don't want to judge a guy anywhere near this quickly. He's still got lots of time to develop.
I'll give a defense for Johnny Davis. So, like his freshman year at Wisconsin, like he was not really anything special. Just like 7 points per game, just like a guy on the roster. But then, like last year, he all of a sudden took that second year leap and went from 7 points per game to a 20-point per game scorer. So maybe he is one of those guys that no matter what level it is, he takes a little bit longer to adjust and really find his place and find his role and rhythm. I don't know if hopefully if he can follow that same trajectory, he can kind of have a big sophomore leap after maybe what's seeming to shape out as a disappointing rookie year. But that is wishful thinking, at least a little bit.
I mean, he's only 20, right? I mean, he's got plenty of time still. There's nothing to say that he can't need a year or two to get comfortable and find himself in the NBA. So I'm definitely holding my defined opinion out on him for a long time yet. A guard that I'm starting to worry about even more, and my opinion is starting to form a lot more solidly, is Killian Hayes, because he has looked terrible to start this season.
Oh yeah, I'm done with it.
I told you, man. I don't know why you guys were on this thing for so long. Like,
man,
I'm gonna give him a little bit more time. No, bro, he's done.
He hadn't played 100 games yet. I wanted to give him some time.
Sometimes
one of these French prospects need to produce eventually, man. We need to break the French stigma, but it definitely doesn't look like Killian Hayes is going to be.
They haven't had a good guard since Tony Parker, bro. Like, dang.
Yeah, true.
Frank Ntilikina low-key disappointed.
Yeah, it's disappointing though, because at least from what I saw last year from Hayes, I was like, okay, maybe he'll be like an okay playmaking backup point guard who can give you some defense. I don't even see that this year. It's like this is really bad. Like,
and Piston fans were gassing him in the preseason, and I kind of bought into it. Like, okay, his jumper does look a little better. His mid-range pull-up looks nice. He's making all right decisions, and now he's pathetic, man.
Yeah, and now they are desperate for Alex Burks to be coming off that bench.
Yeah, like if you're not playing better than Corey Joseph right now, kind of disappointing. Legend.
I told y'all before the season, man. Corey Joseph was about to be a better backup guard than Killian. Y'all didn't believe me.
You've not been wrong. You have not been wrong. It's tough to see.
What I will say is they're about to beat the Warriors, so clearly something's going right in Detroit.
Well, actually, there's still 6.5 minutes left, and it's
there's 6.5 minutes.
So I ain't ruling it out yet.
They've been up like the entire game, man.
They have. They've been good. They've been good this year. Like, they obviously their record isn't amazing, but they've been good. Like, Ivy's been good, missed a couple games. Cade, I know, hasn't been as efficient as some people would like him to be, but that was mainly for the first few games of the season, which isn't exactly uncommon for guards, and he's looked better since. Bojan Bogdanovic has looked brilliant since he's joined Detroit, and he's got an extension today, deservedly so. And you look at their bench unit, their bench isn't great, but their young guys on their bench are playing well, which is the most important thing to me. Jalen Duren's looked good. Isaiah Livers has looked good after missing most of last year to injury. He provides a bit of 3-point shooting from them off the bench. So I like what I see from their core guys. They've had a good start to the season.
Yeah, overall, 26th in offensive rating and 29th in defensive rating is like the team is definitely not, at least early on, not the play-in contender that I've marked them out to be. But, if they do fall short and they're just really bad again and end up in a sweepstakes, I won't be too mad. I more had them in there as like a fun team that'd probably get smashed right as the play-in started, but just I think this is a team that we don't really have to worry about settling into like a losing culture where they just keep losing year after year after year. I think if they do continue to be this bad this year, like record-wise and on both sides of the ball, like I have no doubts that they will come up a lot if it's not late this year, by next season.
Well, and if I know anything about Dwayne Casey led teams, he isn't about to let this team ever just lie down and give up. So these guys are going to be competing night in, night out, even on game 82 of the season. That's just how Dwayne Casey is. If you don't compete specifically in the defensive end, you're out. So that's just how it's going to be in Detroit. So I'm not too concerned about that standpoint from a negative culture, and they have vets around as well, which is a nice bonus with Nerlens Noel around and Burks and Bogdanovich and Corey Joseph. They got some guys who have been around, who've had some playoff success. So I'm not too concerned about that.
November 14th, they play their Super Bowl.
Raptors.
They play the Raptors. So if they're not looking good by then, that'll be a big morale boost, a big win for them to get in. Start to mobilize.
They played the Celtics the game before. They're going to win both of those.
Man, that's going to be the start of their turnaround right there.
No Played Celtics twice, like in that week.
Yeah.
Celtics November 9th, Celtics November 12th. And then, Raptors like right after that.
I feel like we probably only beaten them like twice in the last 2 seasons. Like, all seriousness, like I don't remember a lot of times we beaten them. It's bad.
We seem to be that team.
Yeah, I think they always beat us in Boston, honestly. I think they beat us in Boston last year and the year before.
The Garden is Detroit's home. I don't know what else
it is. It is.
Pistons. The Pistons only beat you guys once last year.
I swear it feels like they beat us like at least twice.
You guys won by 11 on March 11th. You won by 9 on February 26th. You lost by 1 on February 16th, and you won by 9 on February 4th.
They're never easy games, though, man. That team always been just super competitive, man. That's the Dwayne Casey all over.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey is never going to give you an easy game.
Facts.
Didn't do it with Minnesota back in the day before he got canned. Didn't do it with Toronto, and he's no different in Detroit. The year before, they beat you 3 out of 4 times.
That's why it feels like it.
So that would be it. That would be it.
He just got to figure it out against certain matchups, man. Dwayne Casey's an anomaly, man.
Rival, so.
He's an anomaly, bro. Like, this is the one guy to win Coach of the Year and get fired the same season.
Raptors legend.
He will never get the same love that Nick Nurse does, but he deserves a lot of credit. He definitely deserves a lot of credit. He got us to where we got us to the situation to change the culture, put us in the situation.
Is Dwayne Casey? Is he the Mark Jackson of the Raptors?
100%. 100% he is.
Yes.
Without a question. He deserves a lot of credit. He's always been a bit of an underrated coach, to be fair. So
I agree.
Was underrated in Minnesota, and then did his thing in Toronto. Ends up being the scapegoat, but he did a good job.
Well, yeah, he was a consistent playoff coach there for a while. Took the last of good Blake Griffin, brought that Pistons team to the playoffs, stayed competitive. Until they got to that playoff series, they got absolutely cooked. But when Blake Griffin was playing on like one leg, and that was a really tough scene overall. But yeah, I mean, just as far as just a pure regular season coach goes, like he's definitely he's above average. Like he's a guy who, if you have a roster who you just want to get some consistency and like a set culture before really taking the final step towards contention, he's a nice solid like in between coach. I don't think he'll ever like win a title or anything, and the Pistons might end up moving off of him around the time where they start taking that leap into being one of the premier teams in the league, if they get there, of course, which I think all of us think they will. But he definitely has a role in this league, and I think he'll still be around for a while, whether that's in more head coaching gigs or being assistants in like solid teams and different places around the league. He's definitely good enough to have a place for as long as he wants one.
No, definitely. He definitely does. How long he stays with Detroit probably just depends on how well he does. Like if they really feel strongly about making the play-in tournament next year, which they probably should, and they disappoint, then that could be the moving point. And I mean, hey, if they continue to have success with him, they might ride with him. But hopefully he has success over there. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Casey.
Yo, on this Pistons, speaking of the Pistons, on this Pistons broadcast, they just shouted out Babytron, and I think that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I never expected a professional sports broadcast to shout out Babytron.
Like, is he at the game where they just like shouted him out?
No, he's at the game.
Oh, that's why.
That's hilarious though, man. Shout out Scam Rat.
Are you saying like you didn't expect like Babytron to be the specific person that was shouted out?
I'm just saying I didn't expect him to just like acknowledge his existence, to be honest. But
I think he's from Detroit.
He definitely is.
Yeah,
he's from Detroit. It's just the nature of his music. I don't know, man.
I gotta listen to his album. I'm gonna listen to that at the gym tomorrow.
He's gonna teach you how to steal somebody's credit card info.
Hey. If it helps me lift, I don't care what he's talking about. That's how I feel. It helps me get the workout done.
If you need something to help you lift, just turn on my album, man.
Drop it.
Hey, listen.
Drop it.
I'm almost finished, bro. It's coming in December.
Is it gonna be on Apple?
It'll be on Apple and Spotify, man. I'm there. I'm there.
I got you then. Hey, you need to go ahead. Drop some snippets though. Like just drop some snippets on Snap or something.
I gotta get the finishing touches on it, man. I'm on perfectionist mode, I think. Once this project is out, the focus is gonna finally turn to going to video, because at that point we've mastered audio, we got the project out, and then it's time to start a new adventure, man. Starting some different goals, dipping my nose in different places, man. Gotta do it. You gotta get adventurous and experiment with things.
The man of many traits, Gabe Ware.
Hey, man. The best. It's good to be solid at everything, man. Well-rounded. If I walk into any room, I always know. Am I the best one at this? Probably not. But am I the worst one at this? Probably not. And so that way, I'm just always comfortable.
Valid. That's valid.
Definitely not a bad way to be.
All right. Here's the moment of truth. How long do we give it by number of games until we can take these standings seriously?
25.
Yeah.
25?
20 to 25 is the range I like to see. That's when stats and stand-ins and everything actually starts doing something.
Because I'm like, it's looking at
there's always that rare anomaly though, like the Celtics last year, that a team like 40 games in looks bad and then they flip it around. Like that's rare though. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Miami that one season where they started like 11-30 and finished 41-41.
Yeah. See that? Yeah. But I'm with Devin. Like it's always about 20 to 25 games. That's when you really know like this is what this team is if this roster stays the same the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like there's a thing right now where like a lot of takeaways and things that is like are being highlighted. It feels like when it comes to positives, it's like new faces and new places and rookies, which is also sort of more new faces. But it's like that on one end, and then on the negative end, there's a lot more of like, oh, this team is really struggling with this, and it's fairly obvious. But as far as just like teams that are overperforming, it's like, do we expect the Spurs to stay a winning team, the Jazz to stay a winning team? Like the Wizards still have a winning record for about 20 more minutes, if that.
Oh, that game already went final.
Okay. So yeah, even, but it's like things like that, like I don't know. It feels like when I'm looking at negative stuff, I like see some issues and I'm like, yeah, that problem's probably legit. But then you see like the good stuff and you're like, I don't know if this will last too long though. I feel like at least I'm personally a little bit more biased towards the negative takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if like a player starts poorly, it's easier to say, okay, a player's in a slump, he'll bounce back. But when there looks to be an overarching problem with the construction or the system of a team, that's a little bit bigger of an issue that either takes something significant to overcome or just is going to be something that is going to be a problem long term. So those are the types of things that are a bit easier to feel a bit more confidently about, even with a smaller sample size. Whereas compared to uh, someone can have a 4 or 5 game hot streak and they can cool down, and that doesn't mean they'll necessarily be bad after. But like you say, the Spurs might not continue to be a team that has a pace of a 4-2 record, and that's not to say they're going to be a team that loses 7 in a row and then wins a game for the rest of the season, because Coach Pop is still there, and this team has shown that there's some guys that are going to take some lead. That's also not to say that Keldon Johnson is going to continue to average 23 points a game while shooting 42% from three on almost 9 attempts. I hope he does, but those are some outrageous numbers.
They're putting that clamp on Anthony Edwards right now. 0 at halftime.
He'll pick it up. Don't worry.
That's
MVP candidate right there.
I feel like most of the season he's been a little up and down, which is still like basically the same as he was before. Like maybe the highs are getting a little higher and it's getting a little bit closer to consistency. But I feel like overall his problem,
he eats too much Popeyes, man. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, that backcourt in general has been inconsistent, which is a little bit worrisome. Hopefully that can iron out a bit, but D'Angelo Russell's had a few good games as well, but then there's also some other games where he just has not showed up at all. So hopefully that consistency improves a bit. But I did not bet on Anthony Edwards tonight, so I can't say that's the reason, because the other 2 nights I bet on him. So this one's on him. So
shout out to Jalen Noel, though.
Shout out to Jalen Noel. He's had a great start to the season. I say that as he's 0-4 tonight, but
I was about to say Jalen Noel. He's got 0, 0, and 0 at halftime, man. What's up? You guys are jinxing people all across the board.
He's trying to join that legendary club of players to put up zeros across the board.
Are we all jinxing people, bro? Like, I feel like Embiid would be the clear MVP right now if I didn't pick him.
I mean, Cleveland has been off to a good start, so
I'm kind of sad.
Hey, I told y'all about the Bucks, man. I told y'all about the Bucks. They gonna come out hungry. They're looking nice.
I'm sick that Embiid was my number 1 pick, man. Because my number 2 pick was Giannis, and it's clearly his award right now. And then my number 3 pick was Luka, and he didn't win the award for me for the exact reason, like why I wouldn't give it to him right now is because his stats are like ridiculous, like ridiculously ridiculous. But the Mavericks have a losing record. Like the team just isn't good enough to push him into that. So, like my predictions for Luka and Giannis were exactly how I expected it to go. It's just my number 1 was not the same.
My only award pick that I'm actually mad about is not picking Christian Wood, because I was really about to do it, but something told me to pick Jordan Poole. I'm mad I didn't pick Christian Wood, bro. He's been going crazy.
He has been going really well. I still feel like he's going to go in the starting lineup at some point, but
probably.
But he has been playing very well. Although I will say it was very noticeable watching the fourth quarter last night that when Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber were in there getting minutes and Christian Wood was in there down the stretch trying to defend with 5 fouls, that they desperately missed the defensive presence of McKee. So he obviously still has his value to this team, as good as Christian Wood has been. But whether that keeps him in the starting lineup, I don't know. That remains to be seen.
Hey, Jordan Poole's boosting them stats up though. He got the start tonight because Clay's out. 30-piece on him. And so I don't think he's going to start enough games to be ineligible. But when he has an increased role tonight because Clay's not there, boosting them numbers up, man.
Everybody on the Warriors have been kind of mid except for Steph. Other than that, everybody's been kind of mid so far to start the season.
Yeah,
just because he's a top 3 player in the world.
Yes, that's that guy.
Yeah,
Steph
he's that
Steph has been the second best player in the league for me for at least like a year and a half.
Second best. Oof.
To me, it's Giannis and Steph.
Oof.
That's the best two.
Oof. Give me Jokic.
Nah.
I will take
Give me
Jokic
give me the guy with.
Give me the reigning two-time MVP who could damn near make it 3 times this year.
Oh, give me the two-time MVP who can make it 3 times while having 4 rings.
That's fine. Give me Jokic. I really do think Jokic is probably top 2 right now.
Yeah, he's probably my number 2 as well.
Hey, man.
But Steph definitely deserves all of his respect. Steph has been great to start the year.
That's crazy, man. Sounded like a bunch of stat nerds over here, man. What is going on?
This man Jokic will take some Amazon workers to the playoffs, bro.
Same guy who put up a triple single against the Blazers, man.
That's fine. Steph's the same dude that shot like terrible for like 4 months last year.
What are we talking about last year, bro? That's the same guy who won a ring last year while we're talking about that. Hey,
fraudulent ring in my
Who cares, bro? Because here's the thing: is that what Jokic was doing from October to April, Steph did it in May and June. I would much rather you do it in May and June.
He was carried by Wiggins and Looney for half that.
Carried by Wiggins
and Looney.
They find any way to discredit Steph. But y'all sound like Skip Bayless right now on some. Oh, LeBron got carried by Kyrie. As soon as Kyrie left, LeBron couldn't do anything. Carried by AD. Hey, Disney having the best mid-range shot in NBA history. Come on, man.
And just so we're clear, Moses Moody is carrying him this year. So.
But what is this? What are we talking about right now?
In all seriousness, he is number 4 on my top 10 list.
I'm buying a Steph Curry. 4?
Yeah.
Who's 3?
Luka. You know, your number 3 for MVP, the guy who you thought was going to be 3rd this year? Yeah, Luka.
Bro.
How does that make sense?
How does that make sense? Above Steph this year.
What?
How did that make sense? Because I was the only one that had Luka ranked number 1 on point guards.
Because the MVP award is not always the best player.
You since changed your opinion.
Bro.
It's a coin toss.
Okay.
Hey, man.
Valid.
I cannot believe this slander, bro. I'm sick.
And I
have
him as a top 4 player in the world. If that's slander, then it's tough to give anyone any respect.
31, 6, and 7 on 42% from 3.
That's fine.
Okay, well, Luka's got 35, great. 10, and 9.
With a whole lot of L's, man. Oh my.
So does Steph. And he better lose the business.
Oh my gosh, man.
Better lose to Killian Hayes.
Look at what listen, call me a Raptors fan all you want. The Warriors are playing in at least May. They're gonna be playing in late May or June.
Luka was just playing in late May.
You heard it here first. Yeah, losing to Steph, getting cooked by Steph.
He was being carried by Wiggins.
Oh my! You are crazy. Who won? Who
was guarding Luka?
Who won the Magic Johnson MVP?
It should have been Wiggins or Looney. If we
what are we doing here? He's trolling, bro. You're trolling.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Wiggins should have won Finals MVP.
That's true.
Oh my gosh, bro! You guys.
Wiggins changed that series.
How have you gone mad?
Wiggins changed that series for sure, man.
All-star starter Andrew Wiggins, by the way.
Luka's getting carried by Christian Wood, man. Stop it.
So much he doesn't even start. Yeah,
bro, he has 24 points right now in the first half, and they're losing to Orlando.
Yeah, because Orlando are a good team. They're gonna make the play-in tournament.
They're 1 in 5.
That's a 4 seed, according to Marquez Fultz.
He's gonna encourage them from the sideline. It's gonna get the job done.
Somebody get this man.
You said they're losing like they was losing by like 30 points.
Yeah.
30.
They're getting the
Meanwhile,
brakes beat
Luka
off
has
them right
24 while shooting 10 of 14. So it's not like Luka's
now, man. Hey,
exactly.
man. If Steph was on the
Oh,
court, they'd
wait.
be winning right now.
Steph just lost to the Pistons.
Well,
The Pistons are going to the play-in.
Unfortunately, Luka also has a combined 3 of 13 shooting from his second and third options. So,
Unfortunately, Luka's getting outplayed by Wendell Carter Jr. right now.
Luka-
wow,
can
that's
never
the
be
most
carried.
improved player this season. So he should be.
Ooh, Steph 10 of 24, 4 of 14 from 3. Ugh,
Oh my god!
terrible.
Probably because the whole team's defending him because nobody else on that team can play, man.
There's a minus 12. Come on now.
Hey, man, look, Steph, Chef, look at Curry, man, and the rest are nobodies. What did you just say? Everybody besides Steph has been looking real mild.
No, Moses Moody been carrying. I already told you.
Mhm.
Moses mild, bro.
Moses Moody's been absolutely putting
Yeah.
the league on a tear this season.
They should trade Steph and just build around Moses Moody, honestly.
Not wrong. You're not wrong. I think it'll help them get a generational talent. So it's probably the way to go.
Facts.
Then they can get then they can have a real generational talent.
They're
Facts.
tanking for Victor, man.
Yeah,
I guess Steph is leaving the Warriors before Draymond.
Killian Hayes had a better plus minus than Steph Curry tonight. That's all we need to know. For reference, Killian Hayes had a -1 and a 14-point win.
Bro, at this point, we're expanding the podcast to 4 people. I'm calling for backup.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
I'm dead, bro. Hey, the best Sadiq Bey is impressive though. Real talk. I love some Sadiq Bey.
Me too. He just needs to get more consistent. Once he gets that down, he's really nice. But I like his game. I think he's one of the guys that I see on that team that isn't Cade and Ivy that I'm like, yeah, I want him around long term. He's a
They
nice
gotta tell him to
complement
go
back to
home.
them.
He's literally just he's too committed to being in the gym, bro. Too committed to putting in the work that they have to force him to go home.
Hey, he's committed to doing that, and he's not getting injured. So I'm with it. If he was getting
That's
injured
Iron
because he's
Man,
working
yeah.
too much, then that's a problem. But this guy is durable, and he is a gym rat. So there's nothing to not like about that.
The past literally freaking decade, the championship team is the most healthy good team. So at this point,
in the finals.
if the Pistons make the playoffs and they stay healthy, I guess they're going all the way.
Detroit at 6.
Yeah, if they play like Milwaukee, yeah, Detroit in 6. If they play like the Cavs or the Hawks, it might be in 7. Celtics, give me Pistons at 5.
4.
I'm talking about the most healthy, bro. If it's against the Celtics, Pistons will be the healthier team 10 out of 10 times. Dude, we're almost 2 hours into this episode. It does not even feel like it's been 2 hours. I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys.
It has been a very quick 2 hours.
It's just because you guys just gaslit me for the past 10 minutes about Steph Curry, man.
Yeah, I don't know what this episode's turned into.
You guys literally slandering the second best player in the world.
Second is a big stretch.
I haven't been slandering Jokic, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Hey, man. Jokic or Ja Morant?
Jokic, easy.
That is not a question.
I don't know, man. It looks like the Grizzlies are higher seed.
Yeah, well, if John Morant wants to play like he has for the first 2 weeks for another 2 years, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
But he has had a great start. But
Give me Joe over Steph Curry, though.
Yo, all right.
Shooting 56% from three, man. Best 3-point shooter in the league.
Desmond Bane. Get him on the All-Star team.
He's been crazy.
He has been very good. He has been very
44% from three. 44%
on over 9
from three.
attempts, which is ridiculous.
5 assists.
And this is
5
not a guy who's
rebounds.
just shooting catch and shoot threes anymore either. He's creating his own shot. Like he is a special talent.
His assist to turnover ratio is above 2. Solid playmaker. Solid with the ball in his hands. He just does it all, man. It was an argument between him and Jaren last year, who was their second best player. It's Desmond, bro. It's Desmond Bane, man. I'm so serious.
Still Jaren Jackson.
Put him on.
Still Jaren.
Put him
Desmond's by far their second best offensive player, but this team has definitely struggled defensively so far to start this year. Now, given Dylan Brooks has missed some time, and that plays into it, but this interior defense has looked really shaky at times.
They missed
Give me
Jaren.
Desmond Bane because he plays, man. Give me Desmond Bane because he plays.
That's valid.
That's fair. That's
valid.
But if you ask me who impacts winning the most on this team, I'm taking Jaren over Bane.
Triple J.
Dude, I feel so bad because I've told people that I'm a Raptors fan for so long, for 6 years, and I root for the Raptors, but at this point, bro, I'm a fan of 6 different teams. It's bad. There's so many teams where I'm like, oh yeah, I just want them to win every game. Every single time I see the Pelicans playing, the Grizzlies playing, the Warriors playing, the Clippers playing, there's 4 teams in the West that I'm like, hey, I want them to win every game. I think that's the thing is that they're all in the West. There's not really that many other East teams that I'm like, yeah, I want them to go crazy this year. Maybe Miami.
Cavs.
Yeah.
I got too much beef with the city of Cleveland. I like almost every player. I like almost every player on the Cavs roster. If that team was based anywhere else except for Cleveland, Ohio, I would probably like them a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big Cavs and Knicks guy this year. Really like the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't even know, man. There's so many teams that I could look at. It's I like them, and I like them, and I like them. I'm liking the Bucks. I like the Cavs. I like the Celtics. I like the Hawks. I like the Knicks. Obviously, the Raptors are my team. I like what the Pacers have been doing. I like the Pistons. I like the Magic.
Pretty much every team in the East except for the Hornets,
the Wizards, and the Heat, and the Nets, and the 76ers.
Yeah.
And then out West,
10 out of 15 teams.
Utah have been fun. Pelicans are good. The Spurs have been fun. The Grizzlies are fun. The Timberwolves are my team. The Nuggets are always going to be fun. The Mavs with Luka and Christian Wood are fun. The Kings, of course, I'm rooting for this year. Much as the Raptors are my team, it's just being a fan of the league. There's just so many fun teams right now that I want to watch and see have some success.
It's crazy, man. I was such a Giannis hater until 2020.
How could you ever be a Giannis hater? What is there to hate about him?
This is why. Is because before the year before Giannis's first MVP year, so his most improved player season, everybody was talking this big game about them against the Raptors, and I'm like, bro, the Raptors are about to smash this 8th seed, bro. And the Raptors took care of business. And then the next year comes around, and they're matching up again. And it's Giannis is about to kill them, bro. Giannis is going to bully the Raptors. They're going to the finals. And I'm like, bro, we just beat him last year. And what did we? We did it again. And I'm
you guys played them as an 8 seed one year?
Yeah, the year we were the 1 seed, they were the 8 seed.
Yeah, I don't remember the seeding, but I do remember a year where Giannis was young. Tony Snell was, if not starting, was playing a significant role on that team.
I believe it was Giannis' most improved year. Maybe it was 2017.
Yeah, because y'all was the 1 seed.
I think we might have been the Wizards that year.
Yeah, because that was the LeBron year, I think,
Yeah, that might have very well been the Wizards year.
2018. Because we
They were
played them
all
in the first round that year. Well, when LeBron was by himself in Cleveland.
Let me look at this
Gonna
2018
say,
Raptors.
the Raptors lost to LeBron in
Yeah,
like 3
yeah.
years.
2018 was against the Wizards.
So 2017. But ever since
2017.
then,
That makes sense. Yeah.
I had this beef with the Bucks because everybody was like, "Oh, they're gonna come beat the Raptors," and Giannis is, and I was like, "Nah, man, the Raptors are gonna beat them," and they did
No, that
almost
was
every time. And so I was the Giannis hater for a while. I was like, "Oh, he's a little overhyped." Plus, when he was getting the MVP awards, like I was not convinced on him being the best player in the world. I still don't know if he was at that point. Obviously, I mean, it was still kind of LeBron's title to lose for a while, and KD on the Warriors was like a whole different beast and all that. But I don't know. I think when he first got super hyped, I guess because of the Raptors versus Bucks thing, I was like, nah, man, he ain't all that. But now that it's kind of like more balanced out and I can just look at it objectively, I ended up really appreciating his game. Now, as far as the guy off the court, you can't ever hate that dude. I mean, he's one of the best just humans in the league.
for sure. Yeah, I remember even when he played that series against Milwaukee. I just remember that team being really fun. Like Tony Snell was there playing. Like Tony Snell was playing really good basketball then. He was playing really good D. He shot over 50% from 3 in the playoffs. That was Brogdon's rookie year as well. He was playing fun basketball. Thon Maker was there playing regular minutes. That was just a fun, long defensive team. That was a fun team to watch back then, and obviously they're still fun now. But it was the fun Milwaukee to watch that was still good before they were the powerhouse to the East.
Those are my favorite teams. The teams that are kind of mid, but they're like still good enough to where they can win some games and they're fun to watch. Those are my favorite kind of teams.
Definitely.
One of my favorite teams ever is still that first year of Victor Oladipo on the Pacers.
Yep.
I was really putting so much stock in them beating the Cavs. Like that was one of the most heartbreaking game sevens I've ever seen. So I'm like, bro, Victor Oladipo beats LeBron. This dude, that's a start. I don't care if LeBron had no teammates. If you knock a guy out of the playoffs that's made the finals 7 straight times at that point, you're a legend.
My favorite mid team ever. That's tough.
The Waiters Island Heat were also super fun, but they ended up falling short.
They were fun.
Yeah.
Pelicans in 18 were fun.
That was a fun team, yeah. And I forgot Bogdanovich was on that Pacers team. I did not remember.
He was clamping LeBron up.
Yeah, I feel like they got him at the trade deadline from like the Wizards or something.
Let's look.
He might have been there the whole year, actually.
16, 17, 18, he was there the whole year, yeah. He was from Brooklyn to Washington the year before.
Yeah, you were right. He did get traded at some point, like deadline deal, but
yeah.
The year before. That seems like so long ago. Man.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I do not remember him on the Pacers. That's not that long ago, but
I was thinking like the Wizards. I'm like, oh, he was on the Wizards for a little bit.
I mean, the obvious like favorite mid team I think is that D'Angelo Russell Nets team that was sadly taken away from us too soon. But D'Angelo Russell at his peak, early Jared Allen, a couple other nice players on that roster.
Yeah, that was a fun team. It was fun beating them in the playoffs too, but that was a fun team.
To be honest, last year's Timberwolves were like a pretty fun mid team. Just like with Pat Bev coming in and changing their culture. Like,
they were very frustrating to watch at times, man.
But I don't know. The whole Pat Bev arc of like, dude, will the Timberwolves finally break this streak? Like, obviously they had the Jimmy Butler year, but that's such an anomaly of like different roster, different kind of weird little experiment that as far as that Timberwolves core, like they had not done anything in like 17 years or something. And so for them to like get the most hated guy in the league, be like in beef with everybody the whole year, then finally win that playing game. I'm not gonna lie, when Pat Bev started celebrating like that, I was right there with him, bro. I'm like, dude, this is sick. Like like the day if the Kings win a play-in game and they make the
Oh,
playoffs,
man.
bro, Sacramento better be partying in the streets.
I'm going to be partying in the streets. That is my mid-team that I think is going to be up there
Bro,
with those fun teams to watch after the end of the season.
I hope so.
it's just gonna be like early April, and there's just gonna be one dude in a Sacramento Kings jersey partying in the streets of Saskatchewan. It's gonna be that.
That'll be me hanging out in the
The
snow.
Aaron Fox jersey.
I'll be out here printing the Fox jersey out with the snow angel in the snow.
Hey,
We're gonna see a random video on TikTok like, why is the Sacramento King fan doing this in Canada?
if the Kings make the playoffs and Keegan Murray averages at least 15 points per game, I will buy his jersey on the spot.
Man, if those guys make the
I remember
playoffs,
this moment, Gabe.
oh man, that'll be the greatest time.
Honestly,
I won't be as much a Kings fan as a Raptors fan for a moment in time if they make the playoffs.
I haven't got a new basketball jersey in a while, and if I got a new one, I don't really know what player's jersey I'd get. It keeps coming to my mind, Steph, because you guys couldn't tell.
Obviously, you're the biggest Steph fan on the pod.
I'm the second biggest Steph Curry fan on YouTube. I don't know. There's a couple players though. Like I don't know how much I actually like Pelicans jerseys, but like I would get a Zion jersey.
I don't think I would get a Zion one. I'll get a CJ one.
I wouldn't either. I'd get a CJ or a BI jersey before I'd get a Zion one.
If like I wanted a Paul George jersey for a while, but I don't know. Him being the second best player on his own roster is like, I don't know, it makes me feel kind of weird about it.
I also have no interest in a Clippers jersey. No disrespect to the Clippers, but
Bro, I cannot believe this. Hey, I also need a Raptors jersey for a player that's actually on the roster. Like, I literally had some DeMar ones, and then DeMar got traded, so then I got a Kyle Lowry jersey, and then
God, you're a curse. You're a curse.
Yeah, I almost got a Pascal Siakam jersey, but I was like, I kind of like him being in town. And maybe I'll get a Scotty Barnes jersey because I know he's untouchable for a while.
Scotty's locked up for a while. Achua should be around for a while, though. Who knows? He could be part of a Masai trade too. So
I think the last one I got was either the Loud. No, I don't think it was. I think it might have actually been the DeMar Spurs jersey. I got that City edition where they brought the colorful stripes back.
Okay, yeah.
So it's been a little minute. I just need to see when the City editions drop. Those are usually the jerseys where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to buy that and rock that.
No,
But whenever it's just teams like Association and Icon jerseys and all that, I'm usually like, yeah, whatever. Sometimes statement jerseys are cool.
Yeah, I think something Toronto's jersey was getting leaked last night on Raptors Twitter, and I was like, I hope that's not it. So that one might not be your jersey, but hopefully.
I feel like all the City editions were like phenomenal in like 2018-19. Since then, there's definitely still been some really big hits, but I think overall consistently, like in 2019, probably like at least 26 of the City jerseys were Heat. Now it might be like 18 to 20 of them. So it's like there's definitely is some good designs, but it's not like that first year when they came out with like the OVO Raptors jersey and like the first Miami Vice, and then like when the Timberwolves were doing the thing with like the pink for Prince, and like around that era, it's like, dude, there were just so many crazy good jerseys coming out at that time.
Yeah, there definitely was. There's a lot of good ones around then.
Even when Phoenix first debuted the Valley one, and then one of my favorites was actually when the Pacers had like kind of the racing stripes, and I think when it's sort of like a circle. No way. Or no, I think it was like a racing stripe more like down the middle, and then like on the side it had like a circle with the number in it. But those early indie City jerseys, once again, me being a big fan of that Victor Oladipo team, I almost got one of those, at least like a shirt jersey, because I was in Indianapolis at one point for something, and we were around that area.
Guys was just casually in Indy for some reason.
Not an important reason, and they're not important enough to remember, but he was just hanging out.
Just hanging out in Indy, man. What can I say? I go to all the cities, bro. And by all the cities, I mean I think I've been to 2 total cities with NBA and three cities with NBA teams. I think I've been to Cleveland. I've been to New York City. I guess I've been to DC. Like 4. Chicago. 5. Okay, 5. I'm leaving it at 5. I take that back. It's 6.
I've been to too many. I don't even want to count.
I think I've got 3, which, considering there's only one in my country, I'll take. So,
Indy, New York, Brooklyn. Technically, been to Brooklyn, to DC, Memphis, Dallas, Orlando, Miami. That might be it.
That's already pretty solid.
Yeah,
and Minneapolis. I've been there.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Minneapolis, Orlando, and Toronto. So, my Minnesota, my team out west, Orlando, my favorite non-Raptors team in the East, and Toronto. So.
Yeah, you guys are well traveled, man. See, it's like I've been to DC, never been to a Wizards game. Been to Chicago, never been to a Bulls game. Been to Orlando, never been to a Magic game. Indy was not at a Pacers game. The only game I've actually been to is a Cavs game because the Raptors were in town. And that's I think that's the only time I've been in downtown Cleveland. I've been in Cleveland area a couple of times for some different things. Very unfortunate, but
I've never been to Cleveland. I lived in Ohio for about a decade, and I've never been to Cleveland.
You grew up like an hour north of me too, so that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think the next NBA city I gotta go to, maybe somewhere a little closer to the west. Technically, I've driven through Atlanta, but I've never actually stopped in Atlanta, so I won't count that. Mm-hmm. I think as far as East teams go, going to a new city, I'd want to see either the Sixers.
I've been in Detroit
Philly,
too, so 10.
Seeing Philly or seeing like Atlanta, just to go to those 2 cities. And then out west, I would definitely want to go to like Phoenix or low-key Portland. It's a little bit more random, but to give a little bit of a different pick than going to like the Cali teams.
That's fair.
Definitely.
Sure. Pacific Northwest just seems cool. Like I've never been there, so that's like a place where I'm like, just want to see what that region of the country's like.
I've been in Seattle, but it was like a one night stop type thing. It was a long time ago too. I was a kid.
Technically, I've been in Charlotte, but it was like a plane layover, so I don't really count that. I was stuck in an airport, and then I got in another plane and ended up in Orlando.
I don't think I've ever been to like Carolina at all.
Really, I've been to both Carolinas.
I've only
been in. If you count the plane layover, I've been to North Carolina twice, and I've been to South Carolina, I think, also twice.
We're about 2 hours in, man, fellas. Y'all got anything else before we wrap up?
Not really.
Yeah, man, I think I'm good. Been a solid output. Got to take care of some homework in the next 3 hours.
Nice.
Homework to do, some studying to do. Next video to start working on.
Yes, sir. I still gotta watch the Precious one that you just dropped.
Yeah, it's good. It's first time in like a bit over a month, so good to start getting some time for that again, hopefully. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode as we give our thoughts as we are approaching the 2-week mark of the NBA season. Be sure to give us your thoughts on your biggest takeaways, good or bad, throughout the first couple of weeks of the season. We appreciate you guys for your continued support. Be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy the episode. And we'll see you guys again next week. Peace.